Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the webinar Destination Singapore. My name is Kamal, and I'm the Regional Manager Higher Education for Southeast Asia and Pacific. I will be your host for today. Now, this session is part of Destination Asia Pacific Virtual University Week 2021. This whole week is designed for our school community to learn more about key study destinations across Asia Pacific, in which Singapore is one of them. It will culminate with a university fair this Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. Singapore China time, and it will also include universities from Singapore, including SIM Global Education. With me today, I have Mr. Muhammad Johan Azman, who is the country manager Indonesia at SIM Global Education. Johan is based in Jakarta. Before we start, a few housekeeping matters. Please use the Q&A box to ask questions. We will also be recording this webinar. Now, without further ado, allow me to invite Johan to take over the mic. Johan, please.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamal, and a very good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's participating here. My name is Johan. I'm the country manager for SIM Country Manager Indonesia. Right. Let me just share my screen. Okay. All right. For this session, I will be talking about, what can we enjoy the experience of a lifetime in Singapore. I'm sure everybody heard about Singapore, and Singapore is well known for a shopping destination, but it's also a destination for education. And this afternoon, I'm going to talk about the transnational education, the trend that you can be part of. Okay, and Singapore is well known for this place, right? Have you visited Singapore in the past, and have you visited this location, right? This at Fullerton, where we have a Merlion and Marina Bay Sands. And Singapore is not only just known for this iconic Merlion, all right, but Singapore is also being recognized internationally and globally for various aspects in terms of its economy, in terms of world talent ranking, in terms of the best country for children, and so on and so on, right? But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about transnational education. And because of this global recognition, it has, allows companies like the Google, LinkedIn, HP, or even Facebook to open their headquarters in Asia, in Singapore. And these are some of the statistics of the number of multinational companies that have opened their headquarters in Singapore. So when we talk about transnational education, there are many benefits that we can talk about here, right? From exchange opportunities to transfer opportunities to a cultural diversity of networking with all the various countries. But today I'm going to give you some hard facts about what are some of the benefits of transnational education. But before that, let me introduce to you who is SIM, right? SIM is actually the abbreviation for Singapore Institute of Management, and we've been founded in 1964. We are one of the largest and the comprehensive private education, and under the SIM umbrella, we have three brands, which is the SIM Professional Development, SIM Global Education, where we offer academic programs, and we also used to develop SIM University. Okay, and with SIM, the model here is that we partner with international university partners. It comes from US, UK, Australia, and France. So students will be able to enroll into this program, right? A program from UK, for example, University of London, but they study in Singapore, right? So when we look into this transnational education, the duration will be shorter, the cost fee will be slightly lower, all right? And location here is nearer, right? Whereby the Southeast Asia region, and but at the end of the day, students will be awarded by the certificate from university partners itself, okay? And the faculties that we offer are undergraduate to postgraduate, where we offer business program, IT and computer science program, and also social sciences program. And when we look at the duration here, all right, there are two pathways that students are able to look forward to, O-level pathways or A-level pathways. So for O-level pathways is going through the foundations program, and after that proceed into a diploma before they can actually enroll into the undergraduate program. For A-levels, they can directly go to undergraduate program, provided they meet the requirements of the English language as well as the A-levels or H2 level subjects. All right, and in SIM, we also offer a postgraduate program of 1 to 2 years. So if you were to look at the whole duration from the start, it's actually about 3 to 4 years. Typically, if you were to look at the university program or bachelor's program over in UK, for example, or in US, for example, is typically about 4 years. But if you were to take the program here in Singapore, in SIM, it's about 3 years. So why is that so? Because programs from the US or even from the UK, they have summer breaks and winter breaks, right? Each summer breaks is about 2 months, winter breaks about 2 months, right? So that actually adds up to the 4 years of their program. But in Singapore, we do not have any summer or winter. Okay, we shorten the holidays, and students are able to complete them in about 3 years. And when we look at cost fees wise, so here is a table of comparison here, right? Where a student to take the program over in the country in UK versus in Singapore at SIM. Okay, in general, students are able to save about 30 to 49% if they were to take this transnational education, the program from UK, for example. All right, it's much cheaper as they take it over in UK. Okay, so there will be a savings of about 53,000 to 86,000 if they take the programs here in Singapore. And in terms of cost of living also, another comparison here, when we look at cost of living, we look at food and clothing, we look at accommodation, transport, communication, and medical services. And comparing it with the UK again, all right, in Singapore, a typical monthly expenses will be 1,500, all right, but in UK, considering all those factors of cost of living, is about 2,800. Okay, there's a saving in there, right? So we have looked at two types of saving in terms of cost fee and saving in terms of cost of living. And we look at Singapore itself, there were many articles like this, right? Singapore is still the most expensive city. However, when the survey was conducted, they looked at 4 different factors: housing, cars, cigarettes, and alcohol. So let's ask ourselves, are all these relevant to students, right? What is more relevant to students is actually housing. Cars, in terms of Singapore, I don't think we need to buy a car or rent a car because we are well equipped with the public transport, MRTs, buses. Cigarettes and alcohols are all lifestyle choice, right? So for students wise, what is more important is actually housing, okay? And there are quite a number of options here when we talk about accommodation in Singapore. Of course, they are the more luxurious one, where there are condominiums, where they are able to rent a room or the whole unit, and condominiums are well equipped with all the facilities, right? Swimming pool, gym, and all those. But if you just want to rent a room by itself, we have the government housing, or we call it HDB. And if you want a cheaper alternative, there are hostels available all around Singapore. All right, and hostels can range from 450 a month to $800 a month, and it's depending on about 2 to 4 packs sharing. Okay, so all these are still choices for the students, right? Very much alternative for them to choose which kind of accommodation, right? And the choice of accommodation here will then affect the cost of living. And we will look at campus life. You know, students are here to study for about 3 years. So we want to ensure that students not only study hard, but we also want them to play hard and develop network for future contacts, right? Because campus like SIM or in Singapore itself, we have a lot of international students coming from various countries, 40 different countries, right? This is where students connect, build friendship, and friendship not just from the same countrymen, but also from the other nationalities, because you never know that these friends of yours can be a business partner in the future, right? So we encourage students to, yes, study hard for sure, get good grades, but also connect with other friends, yeah? And not only connect with friends, but also connect with other companies. So in many campuses, there are a lot of student development and support programs available for them. So we do encourage students to be active during their 3 years or 4 years of their education life, not just to study and network, but also take the opportunity to join summer exchange program or exchange programs and participates in various clubs, because at the university levels, there are so many student clubs that students are able to choose from. And when we talk about Singapore here, Singapore is a multicultural country, right? The main 4 races in Singapore is actually Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Eurasian, but there are more now coming into Singapore. We, especially in, for example, in SIM, we have students from Korea, we have from Thailand, Vietnam. So that will add more diversity to the community, right? And in terms of religion, we are multi-religious society as well, right? So all this diversity, but still allow students, to live harmoniously. And this will be an exciting, experience for our students to actually learn from other culture, to actually know the other religion, and it's very easy to adapt here in Singapore. And when we talk about working language here in Singapore is actually English. Right? So this is where international students can actually pick up and hone up their language skills in English, right? And improve their English. But of course, like I've mentioned earlier on, because of multi-religion and multi-ethnicity availability in Singapore, it's also an avenue to pick up new languages. So students here in SIM like to learn Korean language, right? Because Korean is kind of a trend right now. Yeah. And when we talk about Singapore here also, Singapore has been recognized for so many other accolades, and that has attracted quite a number of multinational companies, corporations to open up their businesses in Singapore. So statistically, about 8,000 multinational companies has opened up in Singapore, and that has also attracted about 18.5 million tourists as at 2018. So what does this statistics show? It shows that Singapore is a hub for job opportunity, where there are development and advancement of technology, all right, and that actually attract companies to open up their businesses. And of course, for those who are very entrepreneur, they are able to open up new companies and be entrepreneur in Singapore itself. So there are various platforms available for students to, look at Singapore from not just education, but later proceed to build their career. And in terms of employment opportunity and immigration, there are potentials for foreign talents, okay? Because as of 2018, there's only about 39,000 babies born, right? But we need a lot of our population to run the economy. So there are a lot of potentials for our international students, right, to find jobs here in Singapore. And these are some of the attractive factors for international students, whereby with their education qualification and their working experience, right, they are able to enjoy a fixed minimum salary of 2,400, right? So with that 2,400, when you compare it to their hometown, probably that's much higher, right? So that actually attract a lot of students to not only to just build their education, but also their career here in Singapore. And as any other universities, SIM also organized the career fair, right? Of course, this is during pre-pandemic, where we invited about 100 plus companies over to open up the booth, and recruitment starts at our campus. And when we do a graduate survey of our students, right, an average salary that the companies gave is actually about 3,000 Singapore dollars. And these are some of the companies that participated. So if you look at these companies, they are multinational companies, which are also available in your country, right? So students are able to build a career in Singapore or even start their career in their own country. Okay. And in terms of visa, so when students were to study in Singapore, they'll be given a student pass. This is how it looks like. And it will take about 4 to 6 weeks for the Immigration Checkpoint Authority, ICA, to process them. So of course, there'll be a in-principle approval letter will be issued out to the students before they arrive in Singapore and exchange it to a student pass like this. So for ASEAN countries, it is a non-visa required country. So there's no such thing as a financial or bank statement needed when we declare for the student pass. Right, all the other documents are as per standard: passport, birth certificate, right, the application forms, and the passport size photos as well. All right, so this is how a student pass will look like. And once students are studying a career here in Singapore, right, they'll be exchanged with a work permit. Okay, so we encourage students to take a read at the ICA website on the application process, because there are always time to time there's always changes to the processes. And last but not least, Singapore is the second safest country in the world, right? And due to that, we have seen quite a number of high profile events, international events happening in Singapore, right? And this will be a factor for most parents who are sending their children, their son or their daughter to study and live in Singapore, right? And at times they are living it alone here in Singapore, right? So rest assured, right? Singapore is a safe country. There's nothing to worry about in terms of, whether there's any, midnight thief or something like that. No, all right? Okay, so Singapore is a safe country. So let's look at Singapore as a destination, right, where students can dream big in Singapore. Although in terms of physical size of Singapore is small, right, but this is an opportunity for students to dream big in Singapore. And I'd like to end by this video. This video is done with SIM and Singapore Airlines, Travel to Singapore Guide. Let's take a look.
Congratulations for getting into SIM2. Now let me share with you how you can prepare for your trip to Singapore. First, you will need to apply for your student pass at least 2 months and not more than 3 months before your course begins. Next, you should submit your application for entry approval into Singapore at least 2 weeks before your date of arrival. Once your application has been approved, you can book your flight using the Singapore Airlines official website. All the applications can be done online. Wondering how to pack for Singapore's tropical climate? During the day, temperatures could be as high as 33 degrees Celsius. So pack for summer, but a jacket could be useful when it gets too cold in lecture halls. In preparation for your flight, make sure you have these documents ready. Depending on where you're flying from, you'll be required to take COVID-19 PCR test within 72 hours before departure to Singapore. Once all approvals are received, and if you're fit to travel, you can submit your pre-trip health and travel history declaration via the SG Arrival Card e-service. After that, you should register and prepay for your own arrival COVID-19 PCR test. Remember, install Trace Together, Homer, and WhatsApp on your phone before arriving in Singapore. Singapore Airlines spares no effort in their disinfecting and cleaning routines. In fact, they received a diamond rating in an industry health safety audit. That's why I choose to fly with SIA. Upon arrival, you will be required to take your COVID-19 PCR test, which you had registered before your flight. Do check where you're flying from, as you may be required to serve a stay-home notice or quarantine. And now I can finally explore Singapore! Hello! Oh, make sure to pull on your mask when you're out. And now for the fun part, let's go to SIM. SIM keeps our campus safe by taking COVID-19 precautionary measures. All visitors will be required to check in and out of campus by using the Safe Entry app. Temperature screenings are stationed at all entry points. Visitors with temperatures higher than 37.5 degrees Celsius will not be allowed to enter. We also practice safe distancing measures on campus. What are you guys watching? Wow, I never knew there are so many CCAs in SIM. I'm sure there is going to be something for everybody. I hope you found this video useful. We're so excited to welcome you to SIM. Have a safe flight and see you in Singapore.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you for your attention, and let's keep in touch. This is my email and also my WhatsApp. You can connect with me anytime. Thank you so much. Kamal, over to you.
Thank you, Johan. Such a comprehensive presentation that you have just given, and I'm sure whatever that you have shared with us can be pretty much applied to the other universities as well in Singapore, right? I'm just going to share back with you my slides. I want to perhaps, before we take questions from the participants, if I can share some information about the autonomous universities, Johan, in Singapore. Basically, our participants, Cambridge students, they are interested in a whole range of institutions and universities. And for those who want to know more about autonomous universities in Singapore, we have 6 autonomous universities, namely NUS, NTU, SMU, SUTD, Singapore Institute of Technology, as well as Singapore University of Social Sciences. Now, if you recall what Johannes showed earlier, SUSS is actually an autonomous university that was previously part of SIM University before it was given the autonomous status by the Singapore government. So it really shows you the kind of quality that SIM provide in terms of the education, right? Such that, it has been, given an autonomous status. So generally for degree programs in Singapore, is 3 to 4 years, like what Johan has mentioned. For SIM is 3 years. There are a good number of courses in Singapore that require 4 years as well. And for medicine, at least, you need 5 years, right? And in this, for the admission to these universities, generally you will require 4 A-levels. And for the more competitive courses in NUS, NTU, for example, you need very good grades to enter, right? And the programs are all delivered in English. For some courses, for some universities, you require SATs, as well as other standardized tests, including IELTS and TOEFL. And for some other courses, you will even need to sit for entrance tests as well as interviews. So whatever it is, do check your university that you intend to study and make sure that you give yourself time to prepare for application as well as admission, like what Johan has shared earlier. It will be good for you to give yourself at least 2-3 months, and for some courses you need actually longer time period, right? So make, you know, do get a sense of what you want to study in Singapore and have a good indication as to how long before you need to prepare in terms of getting into the admission, into the course of your choice, right? Now, I want to go on to the question and answer session. Please, feel free to drop your questions onto the Q&A box. Right now, there's a question from Pamela about the colleges in Singapore, the universities in Singapore, if they offer BSc degree in physics and mathematics combination. Would you please let me know the name of colleges for that who accept Cambridge A-level? Thanks. Johan, maybe you share the perspective from SIMG, whether you have such thing as a dual degree or a double degree or
Right.
a combination of math and physics.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much, Pamela, for this question. In SIM, we do have a dual degree. However, we do not have a program for physics and mathematics. Our dual degree is offered by one of our university partners from University at Buffalo, United States. And the degree would be business administration plus Bachelor of Arts, right? So that's a dual degree. Yeah. So in terms of physics and mathematics, I'm afraid that SIM does not offer a science program because most of our programs are in management, in IT, and also computer science.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for the autonomous universities, Pamela, do check the universities themselves. I know NUS, NTU, they have double degree, dual degree programs. Physics and mathematics probably will be under the double degree. Do check, and I know they have this kind of provision where you can take two majors within one degree as well. So, the short answer to your question is there are options for you to do physics and mathematics together in autonomous universities. Check out NUS, NTU, SUTD, especially for this combination, right? For Walker, sorry, Ashita has the question for you, Johan. What
Yeah.
are the grade requirements for business in SIM?
Okay, so in terms of program into SIM, there are two pathways. One is through the diploma, and one is through the bachelor program. So for diploma, we require at least one A levels. All right. For a bachelor's program, we require at least three A levels. But in terms of English requirement, since students are already taking up the IGCSE program, they just need to fulfill a minimum of grade C of English as a first language in IGCSE O level, or grade B if let's say they take the English as a second language. So students from IGCSE do not require to take additional IELTS or TOEFL English test into SIM, right? So generally that is the grade requirement for in business SIM.
Johan, there's a follow-up question from Ashita. Do we get a combination of economics and finance at undergraduate level?
Yes, correct. So in SIM, we do have a program, a combination of economics and finance that's offered by one of our university partner, University of London. So I suggest, Ashita, you can go to our booth and I can share more about the course objective and the other requirements for this program.
Thanks, Johan. When Johan talk about the booth, he's also referring to the university fair that will take place this Saturday. So do visit SIM's booth if you want to know more about what SIM has to offer as well. Walker has a question about architecture design. How many years for undergraduate study? I think in general, Singapore architecture's studies would require 4 years for you to complete. But in terms of professional accreditation, you need to figure out exactly where you hope to eventually practice as an architect. So there are additional requirements, right? In the case where you want to practice in Singapore, you need that professional accreditation, or in your home country, for example. So that 4 years is the minimum requirement to be to graduate with a bachelor in architecture. but you need professional accreditation to be a qualified architect, whether it's in Singapore or your home country. So find out more about where you hope to practice eventually as an architect. Walker, how many years for postgraduate degree? Anything from 1 to 2 years for masters, and also 3 to 4 years for PhD in postgraduate. Johan, you have anything to chip in on
Yeah,
this?
so for postgraduate, we are looking at the options of full-time and part-time. Do take note about that too, because if it's part-time, typically it's about 2 years. If it's full-time, it's typically about 1 to 1.5 years, lah, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw one question here about scholarship.
That's right, for SIM.
Yes, correct. So there are full scholarship available in SIM. So there are two types of scholarship. One scholarship is meant for our diploma students, meaning students who are enrolled into a diploma program at SIM. And this diploma scholarship is only open for international students. Right, meaning a Singaporean students are not eligible for a full diploma scholarship. So of course there is a requirement here to academically you need to be good in terms of the academic in your senior high school, and at the same time we look at the other aspects in terms of leadership quality, interpersonal skills, confidence in terms of their speech, right? So there will be a series of selection, and also interview could be conducted. Another form of scholarship is the undergraduate scholarship. Now, undergraduate scholarship will be open for both Singaporean and also international students, right? Same requirement, we look at the academic profile as well as their leadership skills and interpersonal skills. So same process as well, there will be some selection as well as an interview will be taking place.
Right.
Right, so do visit our website or our booth this Saturday and we can talk more about the scholarship.
With regard to scholarship, for those who are interested, in terms of the autonomous universities, there's also a whole range of scholarship for students, and depending on where you are coming from, there are probably more options for some country than for some countries than the others. So do check out whether it's SIM website, or speak to them this Saturday, or the other universities as well if you are interested to know more about these scholarships. There are scholarships that are offered to students regardless the institution as well. There are general scholarships offered by Ministry of Education Singapore, so do find out from them. I think the basic tenet, as what Johan has mentioned, is that it's very competitive, and also is a lot to do with how well you do in terms of your academic grades, as well as that holistic overview as well. Yeah.
Ashita Kapoor.
Yeah, accounting important.
Okay, right. So is accountancy important to be taken in AS level for admissions in SIM? So in terms of admissions into SIM, we look at A levels. Yeah. So in terms of entry requirement, we just look at 3 A-level passes. So for AS level, to answer directly, accountancy, we require A-levels lah for admissions, yeah, into SIM. The only paper that we accept into AS level is actually the general paper. That will be to fulfill one of the English requirement, because like I've mentioned earlier in my slides, we have about 10 university partners, and each of these 10 university partners have different sets of requirement. So when I look at one of the partner universities, for example, RMIT, Australia, they look at English requirement at the AS level general paper. Yeah. Whereas the other universities, for example, University of London, they accept O-level grade C English. Yeah. So for AS level, for now, we only accept it for general paper, but the rest of the other subjects, we look at A levels for admissions.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Johan. Also to clarify to our participants, in general, Singapore universities, institutions require A levels for admission. We do not take in students with AS level. So for those who are intending to move on to universities with AS level, Singapore institutions will not be able to accept it. You need to continue with one more year of studies and come in or rather apply with A levels, Cambridge A levels, right? Question from Bashira. For applying to the universities, do we need to prepare personal statements? Johan?
Yeah. I think it's just good to prepare personal statements because you never know. Sometimes you'll be called up for an interview. I'm speaking as a general universities here, yeah. But in terms of SIM, we don't require personal statement except for Bashira if you are looking for postgraduate studies in SIM. But as a practice, this will apply to all the other universities. Do prepare a personal statement.
Yeah.
Because if let's say suddenly the requirement require you to prepare one, you're already ready. Yeah. So it's good practice to do a personal statement.
Yeah. I think if we on the side of the autonomous universities, Bashira, there are universities that may require personal statements. I know, for example, in the case of Singapore Management University, you are more often than not required to write an essay, a personal essay, as part of the application process. For some, you need not, especially for the more general degrees, like in the case of NUS, NTU, you need not offer personal statements, but for some others courses, the more competitive courses, especially, you may have to. So again, check the eventual destination which you are aiming for, and look at the exact requirements and move backward, and see how much of preparation that you need for application into this particular course, right? Simran has a question about veterinarian assistant course. A vet assistant, I'm not sure whether we have a vet course in Singapore at all, Simran. I'm quite certain that Johan, SIM doesn't offer it as well, but please correct me.
Yes. Yeah, we don't offer veterinarian assistant course, yes. But I'm not sure the other universities here, the autonomous universities, you can check out their website, course finder or program finder. All right, and you are able to see if they offer.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's as far as I can recall. As I said, there are no vet courses. There are medical schools here in Singapore, and it's highly competitive as well. But for vet courses, not that I'm aware of, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashita has another question about whether it's sufficient to study in SIM.
Yeah. Okay, so I've looked at a question here. Ashita is mentioning economics, business studies, and maths. So if these three you are taking it at A levels, yes, it is sufficient to admit into SIM, as long as the subjects in A level is not an overlapping subjects. What does it mean by overlapping subject? Meaning, for example, science, right? We have physics as one paper, chemistry as one paper, or combined science as one paper. We look at all this as one subject. It's not a different subject, okay? Because it is in the sphere of science, all right? So if you were to talk about 3 A levels, means 3 different subjects. So economics is one, yes, business studies is one, and also maths. But when we look at science, if you have 3 of those science, we just consider it as one subject. Yeah. Yeah, so to answer Ashita, that should be sufficient for admission into SIM. Yeah.
Again, on this, as I said, I just want to refer back to your intention eventually where you hope to study. For example, if you want to study mathematics in university, it will be very helpful if you have both Cambridge A-level math as well as Cambridge A-level further mathematics. That will give you a good standing in terms of your intention to study a mathematics degree in one of our universities. So there are combinations that might not work for this particular course, but for another course, like for example, if you have a double maths at A level, that will be very, very helpful for you, especially depending on the course that you intend to study as well. Yeah.
And we have one from Indonesia, I believe. Yes, Sekolah
Yes.
Pelita Bangsa Cirebon. I think I know this person. Hello, Pak. So, having an ACCA certification for accounting essential, and what can students benefit from having this certification in the workforce? So, typically, to be a certified accountant, a student should graduate from a bachelor in accounting, and at the same time to have this ACCA certification. Now, there are a lot of certification bodies out there, not only just ACCA, but also CPA Australia and others, right? What is the purpose of having this certification here is actually, it's like giving you the quality that you are a certified accountant, a certified auditor to perform your job well, right? So companies, when they look for accountant, right, they will look for whether you have the certification or not, all right? Because having the certification will uh, not only create a depth, but give you a certified uh, way of doing accounting, all right? Just like your driving license, right? Before you can drive, you need a license. So similarly, before you become an accountant, right, it's good to have this form of accounting certification. All right. I've also asked also if let's say I do not have a certificate, uh, can I still practice accounting? You can, right? But in terms of career progression later on, you are not able to perform, a very big accounting or auditing work. You will be perform on certain types of accounting job. Yeah. So that's my understanding about accounting.
Thanks, Johan.
Yeah.
I just want to add on to this discussion about professional accreditation. For
Mm.
those who are looking at, accreditation of, the more professional jobs like, say, engineer or
Mm.
accountant or doctors, lawyers, you have to really, really check at your own country requirement, right? Especially if you plan to practice back in your own country. For example, like if you have if you want to practice as a doctor in Indonesia,
Mm.
right? Will you be able to practice as a doctor if your degree, your medical degree, is from Singapore, right? You will be having to look at extra accreditation process needed, extra
Mhm.
qualifications needed for you to practice as a doctor back in Indonesia, for example, with a
Mm.
medical degree in Singapore. So that's another layer. So in that sense, it will influence your decision. Maybe you should be taking your medical degree in Universitas Indonesia or Gajah Mada instead of
Yeah.
going all the way to Singapore. So
Yeah.
do have that sense of what your uh, country require if you plan to go back to your country of this professional accreditation, yeah?
Yeah.
The requirement, the exact requirement needed.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep. Do we have other questions from the floor?
Okay. Thank you, Pak Eko.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Good. So now I think it's pretty much, all the questions that we had just now was answered, Johan, and
Yeah.
really, the presentation that you did just now was really comprehensive enough to be relevant
Mm.
to other institutions or relevant to students who are looking at other
Mm.
institutions in Singapore as well. So
Yeah.
that's really, really, really useful. I think for those who want to know more about, what SIM has to offer, again, I just want to remind you that SIM will be having their virtual booth this Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. Singapore China time, and feel free to check out, book their consultation sessions, right? And if you want to know more about what's going on in terms of what the universities have to offer, what kind of webinars and events that going to take place for Cambridge community, please scan the QR code that I'm showing you on screen now and join our mailing list, right? And we are happy to provide you with more information as well, right? And for those who are unable, for your friends who are unable to make to make into this particular webinar, we will have it uploaded on the week destination week website, the Udentity website. So do check it out tomorrow, and let your friends know that it's available for viewing as well, right? With that, I want to thank Johan once again for sharing with us the very informative presentation, and really on how we students who are intending to study in Singapore as a whole could prepare in terms of getting into admission into SIM as well as any of the institution here. Any last word from you, Johan?
Right. Thank you so much. So just a short one. Let's look at what Singapore has to offer, lah. Right. Basically, Singapore is a small country, but there are a lot of other things that international students are able to, learn from a country as small as Singapore. Its efficiency, its discipline, its time management, its cleanliness. So students are able to experience something that is out from their home country. Okay, so in terms of quality of education in Singapore, you have seen the number of autonomous universities available, even SIM. Do look out for some of these places and know more about what they offer. And I would like to welcome you if, let's say, your students or you yourself wants to study in Singapore, and it will be a life enriching experience for you in Singapore. I think that's all that I have, and I'd like to say thank you
Johan,
to Kamal.
last question
Yes.
from Fang
Oh,
Lin Chu. If one of the subject is Sharia and this student wants to apply for accounting course, is this student eligible to apply?
Sharia.
It's
So
one of the
is the
subjects that it can be A levels, or one of the subjects is Sharia, and they
okay,
want to study accountancy.
right. So for this will be a case-to-case basis, because Sharia subject is something that is prominent here in Southeast Asia, but not necessarily for UK or US or Australia. So we will need to look at it on a case-to-case basis. We can raise this to the admissions committee to see whether they would accept this lah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I also want to encourage Fang Lin Chu to also visit the SIM booth this Saturday to present a more holistic picture of this case, and perhaps you'll get a better advice as well, right? Thank you once again, Johan. With
Thank
that,
you.
also
Thank
thank
you,
you to
Kamal.
all the participants. Please, the next session is at 4 o'clock. It will be for Destination Malaysia. I hope to see you there again. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care. Stay safe,
Take
everyone.
care.